I'll never watch it ever. Maybe.
He's so charming.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Numbers are time. Time is numbers.
Oh, shit.
Wildly Uninteresting Podcast. Episode
94.
In your face.
Just 90.
In your face.
Oh, just 90?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? That was serious?
Welcome
I don't know.
back to
I don't know anymore.
the amazing Wildly Uninteresting Podcast.
You guys ever just say stuff and it doesn't matter?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you don't care so much that you don't know if it was real or not.
Mm-hmm.
I wish the world was a series of things that just didn't matter. You know?
It is. In the sense that you're going to die.
Yeah. Well, do you think we put meaning on things just because we don't know and we fear not knowing?
I think we put meaning on things because if we don't have meaning on things, and that's a lot of years of just
Nonsense.
Nothing.
it's like a sandbox video game with no story whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool at first, but then you're like, well,
It's kind of boring.
what's the point?
Yeah. Why not just take me out? That's I think
Take me out.
that's I'm super glad that you got me that book, Maps of Meaning from Jordan Peterson.
B. Peterson.
Just because I think his outlook is a lot different than some others. I've looked up a lot of psychologists and shit, which I don't know if he identifies as that.
He's a clinical
Specifically.
psychologist.
Is that what? Okay. But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it's just like somebody spouting off Christianity. With a lot of other psychologists, they give you their opinion on, their ideology of how like the world is supposed to work,
Yeah.
Where I think Jordan Peterson opens it up to like he sees everybody's viewpoint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And allows you to see other people's viewpoint and doesn't really tell you what to think, Where other psychologists, I feel like, kind of, tell you what to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when he talks about things, instead of like, here's the answer, he's like, here's
Yeah.
an answer.
Yeah.
Great.
He always adds something right after it that says, like,
It's funny to me, though,
Perhaps.
he tends to get in trouble in the
yeah.
world when he's not even doing anything wrong. He's just talking. He's like, it's just what I think.
Well, it's lesser minds don't want to listen. Like, I'm
sake.
upset immediately.
Yeah.
that I just don't know what drives people to be so upset about, anything to do with society. They're super upset, like, one way or another. And I think some things deserve to be that upset about, and like the Black Lives Matter movement, they had more than enough reason to be that upset to go to that level. But in general, though, we live in a time where every time you turn around, there's another fight, there's another thing, there's another movement, there's another. It's just like a social media thing. Like they're like, I want to be,
I want to be
liquid
on top of
H2O,
something.
and I want you to call me that. Liquid H2O.
Liquid H2O.
Yes. And I want you to call
Like
me
it.
that. And I want to fight for the rights of other H2O beings.
But they're not as liquid.
There's not as me, because I'm the leader of them.
Man, I'm so liquid.
I just don't get it.
That just makes me
man.
think you have a lot of cash.
We were watching a movie that I hadn't seen in a while, Year One. I don't know if
Hell
you ever
yeah.
seen it. It's so
Dude,
good. So
that
good.
was a movie I saw in theaters, and like the screen opened up, and like there was like a portal or whatever going through it, and I was like, "What? Did you see that?" She didn't.
No.
No way. What?
Yeah.
That's
Anyway, yeah. Continue.
the guy. I'm trying to think
Jack
of
Black?
his name. No,
Michael Cera?
the creator, the producer, the
Harold Ramis.
Ramis.
Yeah.
Yeah. The spin he took on not only like bringing it like this is a comedy to Christianity, but he like pulled all those stories together from these two like cavemen, and he pulled all like Cain and Abel and the Mark of the Beast and all this stuff together into this one comedic, masterpiece. And it just baffled me because I was thinking like way back then when they didn't have anything and they did throw virgins into the fire. Like, can you imagine a world where they believed wholeheartedly that they would throw a virgin in, and God would see that sacrifice
and make it rain.
And make it rain. He's like, all right, cool, you killed enough virgins. That just blows me away because it really happened. Like those things are like true to stories. Like they used to do that. And you think about like Sodom and Gomorrah, and they didn't have TV or music and all that. Well, they had a certain sort of music.
Everybody had a harp.
Yeah, but not like EDM or something,
Like Jay-Z.
But you think,
hey Jesus, man, bring that wine over here.
You think about all the rape and them, pretty much they made anybody and everybody a slave if you were lesser. But we've always been stuck in this hierarchical. How you say it?
Hierarchical.
Yeah, like
that one.
Yeah, that one. In that cage, like there's always been a power to be, and then the lesser of, like the peasants, the people that we can just push around if you're not big enough or rich enough or.
Well, we learned it from our alien overlords.
Do you think so?
Did.
Well, I listened to a podcast last night while I was high in the tub. And
it made complete sense.
Complete sense. As humans were created as the slave race for some aliens that were like mining for gold and shit. But their bodies weren't, like made for us. So they took the monkeys and then they did the thing and they made us.
Yep.
And then
I believe it.
We've the thing.
Yeah.
I kind of got behind that too about the Anunnaki when they came here, that they did that, and that's they created a slave being, you know what I mean, and they just copied the shit out of it, and it built society to which we know now. But we are that slave, we're just leftover. We're the leftover slave labor.
It has never made more sense to me than it does right now. That Rick and Morty episode where he made the mini-verse is what runs his car, and within the mini-verse is like a teeny verse, and it just keeps... That's the same idea. Oh, wow.
Creating those slaves to do the work for you, because like nobody wants to do that. I mean, think about like when they come to settle in the Western world, like they brought slaves with them. They're like, hey, guess what? You're going to build the world while we go chill out. Is that cool with you? And they were like, no. And then they killed a bunch of them. They were like, is it cool now?
It's always the better equipped enslaving the lesser. And there you go. Get out there and do my work.
But what's crazy is, say if I was to get enough people together to do the same thing to those people who enslave the people currently.
I'm not going to say that.
Now, I'm like a terrorist or I don't know. Like, I'll be locked away forever and shit. Although they're doing the same thing to us currently, but we don't recognize it, right? I always go back to like standing in a crowd of people thinking like I don't belong here, because you just look at what they're worried about and sometimes I don't even feel human. Like I'll stand there like I don't feel like this is real, and I feel like I'm stuck in a cartoon that doesn't make any sense, because they got these people worried about like the dumbest of fucking things, the societal ladder that they have to climb to be good or worthy or whatever, and it's just it's annoying.
I'm not happy until everybody's jealous of my status.
Yeah. Dude, and that's what it comes down to, man. I want you to be jealous of what I got, and I'm doing it for my ego. It has nothing to do with like progression at all. Like, because if you were to step back, I don't even care if you like the poorest person on earth and stuff like that. If you were trying to progress this society, like I'm all for it, even if you have cool ideals or whatever, right? But when you're fucking like just on the hamster wheel, just making money and spending it out for the dumb fucking things.
Eat this money, dummies.
It just blows me away, man. I hate being a part of a system that like the majority is that way. I hate being a part of the system, but I'm not smart enough to do anything. I'm not smart enough to like convey what I feel. I'm not smart enough to alter other people's mind. Right. That are doing that shit. So what do you do, man?
Well, this is an attempt at it.
I guess so.
If anybody ever actually listens. I mean, who's to say that people won't listen to this in 12 years and think, all right, I have a lot of homework to do.
We take some notes.
Well, you never notice that you're like making change while you're making change. It always comes way down the line, so you'd never know anyway.
A year later, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Hell
can see that. You don't know when you're like while you're taking the steps. But no, man, and I fear that the book that you got me is gonna make it like 10 times worse, because every time I read Jordan Peterson, it blows me away to an extent where I'm like, I don't know.
Just blown away.
Yeah, man. I already talk to myself all day long inside of my head and like run all that shit through my head. But when you find somebody that can really articulate it the way he does, it's like, I just want to like...
My life is different now.
Yeah, dude, you're changed after a book like that.
Yup.
If the earth was flat, cats would have pushed everything off by now.
It's a dad purchase.
Bad joke.
Yeah. Some
Man,
good shit.
I mean, like Casper and I were eating breakfast earlier. It was at 2:30, but you know, she's like, "Oh, what time is it?" It's like it's 2:30. I was like, "Oh yeah, dentist favorite time." And I thought, maybe I think too much morbid shit, and then I say things like that. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be fine."
I had a buddy I used to work with, and I would listen to like, just because to get amped up in the morning for work, I'd listen to like death metal and I'd cuss, and I'm just a disgusting person.
I get fired
as a
up for the
man.
day by cussing.
shit,
Smoking
fuck.
cigarettes
fuck.
and
Let's
farting.
do it. And farting.
And farting.
I just
then
do
it-
all the most manly things I can think of.
And
Punch
then I
him
would
in the
talk
face
about
before you
then I
go.
would talk about like Gilmore Girls and like, or some, you know, some shit like, or The Notebook, and he'd just be like, I don't get you.
I like to think that that's just well-rounded.
Yeah.
Same thing with you. You just get like, you know, bodies being blown to bits up here, but then you think of 2:30 and you're like, okay, well,
Okay.
things are fine. I'm
Yeah.
well-rounded.
It's the people that aren't well-rounded that are just.
Makes me want
There's
to
no need for them.
blow my fist through their face.
Yeah.
It's so descriptive. It's one of my favorite things he's ever said. I think he actually said blow my fist through the back of their head, though, which is even better.
Yeah, that come through. Whoa.
Well, say your shit,
Whoa.
man.
Whoa.
There are other ones running.
Whoa.
You don't know.
You don't even know, man.
Bitch, am I wrong?
No.
No.
Yeah.
But you don't know.
That saying
I don't
come
know.
from when we went to Sarah was pumped up for me to get into a mosh pit for the first time because I had never been in one, and I went to a mosh pit
Gwar.
in Guar, which was one of the best, I
He was there.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
And yeah, because
Yeah.
I was like, I'll go. You just stay with her, so because I didn't want her to be alone in the crowd.
That was the one you had
The
to
Rusty
talk me how to
Frog.
rush in the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think
They'll
too,
accept me.
you pulled your dick out and like took a piss too, right?
Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, right
Yep.
there. Front row. But yeah, dude, there's this like little small chick that got into the mosh pit, and I mean everybody's like throwing hands and stuff. And she was getting all wild or some shit, and she had turned her back to me, and I was like, this is my opportunity to fucking hit a girl. And I took off running with everything I had in me and elbowed her in the back of the head. She fell face first in the mud, and I've never felt better about myself
Hell
than I
yeah.
did that day.
She hopped up all happy as shit,
She
though.
was jacked.
She's like, I'm a part of the mosh pit.
fucking moshed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I found my people.
I could not believe that he had never been in a mosh pit. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I will say
That
this.
was like 2015.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. I will say that I think everybody needs to be in a mosh pit at one time, even if it's like a chill, laid-back mosh pit at like some, I don't know, what's the chillest mosh you've ever been in?
That
or
one
seen?
band.
Oh,
The Grateful Dead.
No. They have the Flaming Lips.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Okay.
like a chill, like they just danced around, or did they really punch each other?
We're just bumping each other.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think every mosh pit I've ever been in was all hardcore shows, so it was
Yeah, like
fucking wild.
I've never voluntarily been in one. It just kind of starts, and then
You're like, how am I always in the center
why
of this
is
shit?
this?
Why is this happening?
Started around that tall guy.
It'll be like our pillar.
Maybe it's always just a way to get me out of their way.
Oh,
They're behind me. They're like, I'm start up a pit.
It
Get
might-
this guy out of my way.
Fucking see.
it might
He,
be.
he looks like a pussy. He's not gonna like it. He'll move.
This tall pussy.
Tall pussy. I think though, man, like everybody, even if it's like laid back and chill, everybody needs to do one eventually, because I think there's a certain amount. No, I know that there's a certain amount of aggression that we all build up. A lot of people take it out on their dogs or their kids or whatever. Or they're assholes to the rest of the world and stuff.
Oh, that's
uptight.
they're assholes. They
gotta-
like cut it with razor
They
blades.
gotta stick up their ass. Well, they need to go to a mosh pit, and all that built up aggression or whatever they're dealing with, they can take out. But I think a lot of people are just scared to get like hit. But I want to tell you that it doesn't hurt as bad as you think it's going to. When you get hit in the face, you think that it's going to be the end of the world. I guess that comes with fear. Fear and not knowing if it's going to hurt. You're like, I don't want to get hit. But your body like takes over and creates like adrenaline, and you don't feel it as much as you think you would.
It's definitely human nature to try and avoid pain of any kind to the best of their ability.
It
But
does suck.
I think if you're gonna do that, like you're essentially inflicting pain upon yourself, the mosh pit's the way to go. Everybody is there with the collective purpose. We just want to get wild.
We are here for this.
Yeah,
And
we're
if
gonna
you fall down, I'll probably pick you up.
Yes, dude. They're
Yeah.
buddies, and y'all
Yeah.
are just hitting each other sometimes. It's great.
Strange, man. I wonder if anybody, like a psychologist, has ever like picked that apart. It's like, what is
Dude,
it?
I don't
that,
know.
What what is that? How did that ever come to be? And like, why do we like, beat the shit out of each other and then like shake hands and stuff? The only other place that happens is in prison, when you fight and then you shake hands afterwards and you go back to your corner and do whatever. It's the only other place I've seen that kind of like night and day. You know what I mean?
Well, in an Akira the Dawn thing, he takes Jordan Peterson stuff, and he was kind of talking about when he went to a Ramones concert. He's like, all the punk rockers with their nihilism and their aggression, they're in the pit, and they don't realize that they're having like a religious moment.
Oh yeah, man.
And they're like, that was the thing where I played you, where he's like, if you go up to a punk rocker and you tell them that, they'll be like, well, fuck off, because that's what punk rockers do.
Yes. Deep inside they're thinking, yeah, you're right, man.
Yeah, you're so right. Fuck you.
That's why I do it every weekend.
Picking my shit apart, I will thrash you.
Man, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I would like to know like what is the basis for that, right? And I also would, somebody like him or whatever, which I'm sure it's an extremely expensive endeavor that you would have to like undergo, but like have them pick you apart, like follow you for like whatever, or you talk to him. I'd love to know what he thought. If I've just laid all my shit out on the table, like childhood to now.
You walk out.
Yeah, man.
Just
It makes me wonder, like, what the, he's very well trained. So I want to know, like, the base for why I am the way I am. Because I don't feel normal, and I feel like I'm walking through a cartoon half the time.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, you know what I mean? Where does that come from? And I'm sure he knows.
Maybe you were a cartoon in a past life.
Little
I got
Mickey
illustration.
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 Just sitting in a white land of nothingness, waiting to be born a human.
They express like the third dimension talking to the second dimension as like a drawing on a piece of paper. They can only see what's on that plane of the piece of paper. So any three-dimensional object that would pass through that plane would be viewed as a solid line that would grow and shrink. Because say a ball was passing through the second dimension, that character that's on the second dimension would see that line, grow and then shrink.
Then it would be like a ghost that came out of nowhere
Yeah,
and
it'd be like, what the
vanishes to
fuck?
nothing.
It makes you think like people who get abducted, is that the fourth dimension, like playing tricks on the third dimension? Like, take this, you asshole.
Snatching you up.
Yeah, they're just drawing
Bunch of hoodlums Fourth dimension hoodlums. That's
Man,
exactly what that is.
Yeah, that for some reason, what do you do that? Oh, the thing you sent about the dog that talks to people with buttons.
Uh-huh.
I woke up and looked at it and laid it back down. But talk about it.
Oh, okay, good, because I wanted to. So, there's apparently, which I haven't seen it, but there's this dog that's well known on the internet who its owner has provided multiple buttons like this for certain things, and they communicate
Wait,
through
like
it.
what?
So like it would be love. Yeah. So the dog will come up. The example that was in that article, yes, Hungry's one. They went for a walk, and whenever they got home, the dog said like stranger, hurt, and paw. So she went and looked at his paw, and he had a foreign object in it. So she pulled it out, and it's something that's usually not found. It usually leads to infection, causes a bunch of problems, yada yada. But apparently this dog always does this. Well, it got some scientists of some sort completely intrigued, and they have like, I think it's 1,300 subject study to see how many dogs they can train to communicate with humans in that matter, and they're doing very well. They said some of the dogs use up to 20 buttons.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's magical.
Yes, it is.
That is insane.
Hell
Other
yeah.
than,
But it just,
push the button.
for
Hungry.
me, yes. For me, it's just because we've talked to people before who don't believe, and I know we've talked about this on here, that animals can express love, and I do not believe that for a fucking second. But the problem is that they don't express love to their pets. They don't provide them an environment where they feel comfortable and loved, so they don't express love to them.
Yeah.
Because they don't fucking love you. That doesn't mean they
They're
can't
scared of
express
you.
love. Yes.
Introduce them to a kid with a grilled cheese. Game on.
Right. I just think it was very neat that they're studying communication abilities in animals.
Yeah, that kicks ass.
Yeah. I'm
I feel
very
like it took
excited.
far too long to do that.
Yeah.
Some random person had to do it in the 21st century for you to be like, oh, maybe there's something here.
It feels like we're too far removed from our primate ancestry.
Yeah.
'Cause, you look at other animals and they kind of, hey, look at that cat. He knows what that squirrel's all about. Yeah. But,
Well, and there's...
and maybe he doesn't.
He definitely does. Well, like with our cats, I mean, I listen to them. They don't like talk to me. They're not people, but I know when they want something. I would know when Chainsaw was hungry. I would know when, Jax doesn't want to be fucked with. Like, I know what's going on because I read their body language, their
I'd
behaviors.
say, yeah, that's you reading their like behaviors and the way they interact with other things that come in their
Yeah.
path.
It's
That's,
just...
But I think we had talked about like humans have always had a connection to like animals and like other animals. Like you said, we had talked about with Casper that like even primates like apes have pet kittens and shit like that. For some reason, we're drawn to that because I feel like we feel and we're intelligent enough to be like, well, we're one with this environment, one with everything that dwells here. We're all interconnected. And we attach ourselves to things that are, animals are, they're closer than plants are to, being like humans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They think, the dog thinks he has like,
it's a sentient being. I mean,
yeah. I think if you can teach them language and they understand and you can talk to them and they can push a button to respond, that is, that fucking dog is capable of thought.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Oh, yes.
Unless, you know what I mean? I'm sure there's a fine line because that dog just knows that button means
there are
food and
limitations.
shit. Yeah, you can't have a conversation.
It's not like, well, if this button means this, does this one mean this?
I think, though, that people they're so egocentric that they forget that the way that we are in terms of mental abilities, thought process, consciousness, it's not the only way. So just because a dog or a cat it thinks differently than us doesn't mean it's incapable of thought.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's incapable of communication. You just need to be fucking better and pay attention.
Well, that goes back to, me walking around and saying that people are worried about, I think what it comes down to is like mass egotism, right? So most people have no clue about anything else but to do with themselves, and they feel like the amount of knowledge they have is acceptable for the rest of their life, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to think outside of that because it makes them money. They have kids, a job, pay taxes, whatever. They're good, right? But it's very egotistical because they don't ever look outside themselves and they never introduce new information.
Yeah.
So there's other ways to be intelligent. There's other ways to communicate. There's other ways to have a religious experience than go to church. You know what I mean?
Right.
So many people are so single track mind that it's almost scary because it leaves you susceptible to being controlled and to not progressing and being stuck in that box because you don't want that fear of learning something new or figuring out how to communicate on a different level.
Well, once you're an adult, I don't know about you guys, but I got tired of learning new things. But I mean, now I like it again.
Yeah.
But, you go to high school and college and all that shit, and you're like, oh my God, it's all I've ever fucking
Yeah.
done.
Can I just shut my brain down
Yeah.
for a
But
while?
then some people don't ever bounce back from that.
Yeah. Which is crazy to me.
Plus, I mean, some people, though, they just have that drive. They're like, okay, I want a job, I want a house, I want a car, I want a kid and a dog.
And that's it.
And that's it. And they're
Yeah.
like, okay, I've achieved happiness. I can die now.
Hell yes. But I'm even fine with that. Like, if that's what truly makes you happy,
I'm not fine with that. Get to dying. Fuck off the planet.
well, I don't know.
I feel you.
Yeah, I just think that.
But I'm a
if it's-
crab, so fuck those people.
That's what though, like you said, there was a time in my life where I'm like, fuck that. I know that I want to be an electrician, I know that I'm a job and I need a place to stay and stuff like that, but that's all that mattered. And then, which I'm so fucking upset that it took me so long to realize that, but I didn't realize that you can go and learn stuff that you're actually interested about. Whereas, in school, you had to learn what they wanted. And I think it gives a bad taste in your mouth, maybe designed that way so that you don't go looking for answers.
Very well.
You
could
feel
be.
like, you know what I mean? They make you stray away from it. Even the people that are very intelligent and they move forward in careers, they're moving forward on a basis of knowledge that's already there, not creating their own path. You know what I mean?
Without the base knowledge of the annoying shit that we don't want to know, then we'd be less well equipped to
Absolutely.
proceed. But then with learning more shit as you get older, it's kind of annoying because that you're gonna have to learn more. Whatever, anytime you start a new course or whatever in college, you're like, oh, the 100 level, and it's all just vocabulary.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I need to learn how to talk about this. But once you get past that, then you're like, ooh, yeah, I can learn shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
dude.
actually get into the meat and bones of it.
I've found, though,
The
that
bones.
Yeah.
I've found that, and that's what we had talked about before, is just jumping into something. So you don't have to have all the information, right? I'll watch a video or two, quite a few actually, before I do anything. But watch somebody.
27.
Yeah, definitely more
Depends
than that.
on how many are online.
Yeah, but I'll go forth and do the videos and watch somebody do it, and before I actually study about it or read anything about it, I'll just jump right in and do. Sometimes it benefits me, sometimes it definitely doesn't, and I have to backtrack and start all over.
Getting out of the water now.
Get back out of the water. But I think it benefits me to jump right in and just start making mistakes immediately, and because I learn hands-on and shit. But for a lot of people, man, they never get over that hurdle of because they feel like they have to have all the information first and then they do.
Yeah.
Well, you're never gonna have all the information. They don't tell you about the mistakes on those videos and shit.
It's definitely a characteristic of people that they don't want to make mistakes. They want to be
No mistakes suck.
just perfect. And I mean, if you sit around just trying to learn everything about everything you want to do, you'll never fucking do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it's a shitty way to be. Last night I was putting this thermostat in, right? And it's
Right.
a powered thermostat. And I know as an electrician to turn the power off before you work on it, right?
Right.
Well, I didn't. I was like, I got this. Because normally, if you don't turn power off, it just either sparks, shocks you, or you blow a breaker. Like, I'm
that's
used
it.
to that. Yeah, I'm good.
I can live with those things.
Yeah, I'm good with that. But no, anyways, I put it in. It says I didn't have power. Bottom line is I blew the fuse on the circuit board within the fucking unit. I didn't know that. And last night I was like coming up with all these rationalizations of why I didn't have power on a thing. I'm like, well, it just never had it. So then I was in the attic and everything, like just learning about HVAC systems and like, where am I going wrong? And then eventually I'm like, taking my reading and stuff, and I figured it out, and I was like, cool. I went and got a part this morning, and it was working perfectly now,
Yeah.
But I was reading in that manual, and that's what they said for things that you fuck up. Usually you have to call a professional. It's like $300 or $400, like just to have them out.
Professional.
Yeah.
So it's like, I refuse to do that. But I think, though, that me jumping in and making the mistakes, and I've always made mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not scared to admit it. Like, I fucked up a lot. Like, so I'm used to, like, on the fly trying to learn where I went wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't benefit me because you kind of like backtrack and have to fix your mistakes all the time. But I feel like it drives me to do more, and I learn more by fucking shit up.
Hell yeah.
I kind of picture you and Sarah in a foxhole, and there's like explosions going on around you. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? And she's on the thing. It's like,
That's exactly right, man.
I'll try that.
It's awesome.
We do. We butt heads a lot, dude, when it comes to that. Like, she'll want to know all the information, read studies, where I'm just like, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's probably the only thing we argue about, really.
It's funny, though, because we always, not always, I guess, but a lot of times we end up agreeing or coming to the same
Compromising.
conclusion on something, but we just have different routes of getting to it.
Yeah.
And I like to have as much information so I can like form my own opinion.
It's like he's Jordan and you're Pippen. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to dunk
Right.
on him. Well, I'm going to look at the perimeter.
Yeah.
I'm going to dunk on him.
I'm
You're just gonna do this, dude. I got your rebound.
So what do you feel would be best? To either jump in and just do it, make the mistakes,
Oh,
or
yeah. Trial by fire. Don't even give me the or.
oh,
Just jump in.
Done. Shut up.
I've just been used to that. I don't know where that ever come from, because I'm like, I don't like confrontation. And I feel like you can have confrontation with yourself when it
I feel
comes
like
to
you're
like fucking
just
shit up.
fearless. As long as I've
When
known
it
you,
comes to
you're
work.
just fearless and
When it comes to play, you're scared.
Yeah.
no.
Oh, look at that ball pit. Who knows what's in it?
I don't want
What if there's sharks in the bottom?
Yeah.
What
Razor
if there
sharks.
are knives in the bottom? Some
Ooh.
crazy serial killer decided he
Put
wanted to
knives
kill
in.
children.
Damn, dude. Look
With
out for the
AIDS
ball
knives.
Yes.
pit. AIDS knife.
No, I mean, I understand the thought of wanting to know a bunch of shit before you begin. Because there were plenty of times in my life when I wouldn't even start. It's like, all right, I'm just I'm gonna wait until I know everything, and then I'll be an expert, and then I'll go.
Yeah.
But then I realized that even if you know everything about something, when you start, you still don't know everything.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Real life application is always different than textbook.
It's like if you were going to be a surgeon, you can read everything, but until you cut a pancreas,
Yeah.
what do you know?
What do you really know?
That's awesome. I like that example.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's
Get
very-
dirty. Let's get dirty.
I listened to a quote that was talking about like all the knowledge that's ever been is already here on Earth. Like everybody, all the thoughts you will have in your life have already been thought. Like all the thoughts that have ever been will always be. Like they're already here. They're like catching signals, like radio signals from the atmosphere. They're here. Just it takes decades for somebody to act on them.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, what are we truly capable of? Because most thoughts that come out, we find a way to get it done. Like, have you ever? I mean, lately, I'm sure like the flying car and shit we still haven't accomplished, and like teleportation and
There's a
shit.
good reason for the flying car, but teleportation, I don't see any reason why we haven't.
What if we have? We just don't know.
Yeah.
Then we just don't know.
Yeah.
It just makes you wonder, like, nothing seems to be, like, because of how far we go in the time period that we're alive and conscious. It makes you wonder what is actually possible. We just haven't done it, whether it be greed or war or whatever.
All things are possible through God. Write that down.
Yeah,
Write that down.
I don't know if anybody's ever said this, but
I always think about the like untapped potential of, you know, like third world countries, people who don't have access to like better things, like what could be accomplished if everyone had access to the same stuff.
Instead of just stripping their resources, we educate them.
yeah, dude. That's we watched that doctor who would she would come across a case that she had no clue what was going on. She was very regarded in her field. And what she would do was she would outsource it, crowdsource it, not outsource it. Crowdsource it, so she would get a lot of people, even people that weren't medical doctors, to weigh in on it and see what they thought. This was my
experience with this situation. I don't know if you've considered this.
Yeah, dude.
I think she was using social media to do it and solved all kinds of cases that way.
So imagine if you put everybody on that playing field and we all just... And that goes back to the world peace thing, but not so much that. We don't have to be peaceful about it, but we got to work together.
We need war, boy.
War.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, just imagine. And I always go back to, if the whole world, for one, all of USA or whatever, took all the budget, stopped doing black book stuff, stopped, raping kids, all that, took all that money that you're
on the same page there.
You're doing all those weird things with, right? Take all the money and put it into space travel. You know how far you would go in 1 year or 2 years compared to the last 100 that we could have fucking been to Pluto by now.
What about deep sea exploration?
Same thing. Same thing. It just do them 1 year after another. We're going to focus all our budget on this and all our resources. Let's do it. And if you came together as a world, now take that, scale and just scale it up.
Yeah.
The entire world working on one issue, climate change or whatever, you'd have it figured out. Bottom line, there's no question about that. You'd have it figured out in no time. But we refuse to work together. Yeah. Back to that ego. We got to be number one. We're USA, although we look like trash right now.
Which is why we gotta be number one. Black Russian women in charge of all that stuff.
Love it.
And then it just gets done.
Love it. Well, I think too, which as the example of a doctor, you're trained to think differently than other people because you have to figure out what's going on based off nothing. You're not experiencing it. You can't see it. I mean, sometimes you can, but
phantom pains.
Yeah. I think that's where getting advice from people who aren't in that field, they think differently than you. Yeah. So they're coming at a problem in a completely different manner. And that's where it's extremely beneficial to do that. Because if nothing else, they're helping you to think outside of your box of what you think in.
Yeah. Even if they throw out something that's just ignorant.
Yes.
It could trigger something.
Yeah. The shit that triggers shit in my brain will never make sense to me.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but whenever Casper and I were watching season 3 of Twin Peaks, she said something as it relates to dreams and shit I had never considered.
Really?
I've watched that shit 20 times and it didn't register. She's like, what about this? I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So...
That's great.
And think about the people that you would employ that they don't have prior knowledge of it. So they don't have a bait. Sometimes our knowledge is what gets in the way of solving an issue. Because you're biased to what you know.
You're thinking in that damn box.
Yeah. Hell yes. Sometimes it doesn't matter how big your box is. It's not big enough. It's
without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's still a banana peel over here. Put that in your box and shut up.
Why hasn't anyone cleaned it up? Fucking banana peels.
Just waiting on the monkey to eat it.
But I think that, that's one of many things that I walk around all day. It makes you want to commit suicide because it's like that. You know how long that will take to change? You know what I mean? Yeah. It won't change in my lifetime. And people can say, well, you have to be a part of the solutions. I get that. But when it comes down to it, I may be able to, like the single-celled organism that created chloroplast, I may take one breath and it might add up across billions of years.
Right.
But I just don't want to fight for that. I don't want to fight for that one breath. I don't want to, be a part of this like billion-year struggle to be where we should have been billions of years ago.
It hardly seems worth it.
Yeah. It's
like
sad.
all the effort that it's going to take. And, if you put in the effort, it'll be fine. But it's like, but
it won't be for you.
No.
Ever. Like, think if you did something for the good right now and it wouldn't come to fruition for billions of years, that's just shitty. Millions for that matter. Mm-hmm. That would be shitty. Even 1,000. You'll never see it.
Right.
Even 100. You won't
That's
be able
why
to enjoy
a lot of
it.
people don't do anything outside of themselves because if it's not going to benefit them, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
But I mean, it's human nature too.
People suck.
Stuff is dumb. There was it's like, I don't know. I don't remember the exact quote, but it doesn't even matter because nobody even knows where it came from.
Yeah.
But it's like
anonymous.
the world gets better whenever we sit beneath, like, I don't know, wise men plant seeds for trees they'll never sit in the shade of, or some shit like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
So your stuff.
Yeah. No, that's a damn good quote for sure. Like, I mean,
Quote-ish.
and that's what I think I'm getting at, because even me, somebody who is emotionally charged in that way, like, I don't have it in me to take that one breath. I don't have it in me to make that one little difference that won't ever matter in my lifetime. I don't have it in me, and there's people that
You selfish fuck.
I do. I'm fucking okay enough to admit it. Like, I'm not egotistical. I help other people. I want to be there for society, but when you're fighting against the current, it's super hard to have any motivation to, whatever, to do it. And so, I mean, I understand just doing the fucking, like, having the kids, going to work, fucking, like, just shut up and go to the grind, die when you're 65. Like, that's cool and all, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's also not.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that are like, I'm just going to have fun until I die either, because I think that's useless. Like, eventually that gets old. You
die
got
a
to do
lot
something.
sooner.
I find that
Live fast, die fun.
I find that you're happier when you're like working towards something or you're making progress, whether it's for yourself or others. Like, I find myself happier then. But getting to that point where you want to do that, it's super hard. Like, so I mean, I understand where people come from, but it just sucks to walk around with them. You know what I mean? Sucks to be in the same world they're in. I don't know. I do, man.
It's awesome.
It is pretty dreadful.
Yeah, I can see where people like lose their shit and like, mass shooting and stuff like that. Like, this world gets irritating. Mm-hmm. Think about somebody who's been, in 3 tours to Iraq or in Vietnam, and they come back and they get shit on, or you see your country going to hell, the one that you fought, gave your life for, and you come back to that, and you gotta,
Right, or they can't get any assistance.
They can't even
if you give
get
your
a
life
fucking-
for it, you can't really come back and see it. All right, come on.
You don't know what happens.
But they don't even get no assistance, or I mean, we're turning that curve now, like where we're actually kind of taking care of vets and stuff like that, but in reality, like, we're just sweeping it under the rug still.
Yeah.
They let those guys go and fight, and they come back mentally fucked, if not physically fucked, and they just expect the world to keep going. But I can understand where somebody would go nuts if they come back, and all that disrespect, like, it would build up. And you taught me how to kill, so
Right, I'm good at it.
I'm good at it. I don't know.
I'd like to be good at killing.
Well, there's only one way to get that way.
Train?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you got anybody out there that wants to train me to be a better killer, give us a call.
Oh, I thought you meant you would take a train to get there.
Anybody out there's got a ticket connection for trains to a killer that will train me.
Killer.
Train.
Deus
No.
Ex Train.
I do like, though, in the beginning of the book, it's already got me thinking about how he expresses Christianity and like what they've built, that ideology from the beginning. It's like science, or modern science, it hasn't been around that long. I mean, in retrospect, it hasn't been around that long. So before that, humans were designed to make make a conclusion about what's going on in the world, like why we're here, what are we doing, why do we do this, and stuff like that. We're made to draw conclusions. We have to make sense of it. But he was saying that like Christianity isn't entirely wrong because they come up with their understanding of it.
Right.
We have just held on to it for far longer than we should have, because science is technically just a thought in a human brain that was like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to make it sensible and whatever, and think critically. But back then they didn't have the words for it. They didn't have science.
Yeah, it's a good place to start, but don't end there.
Don't end there. But the way he says it, we're always going to, even if science is proved wrong, we're always going to find a way to rationalize what the hell's going on. So who's right? I don't even think that he says that science is right. Like he's just like, we're always going to do this. So
it's a solid approach, but we don't know everything.
There's no way to prove it. Like, you can prove it with science, but that is the thing that you created to make proof of that. Like, so
it's just a process. So, you have to keep learning, because if everything you knew was all you needed to know, then you'd have everything you wanted.
Yeah, we'd have been okay.
And he's all like, "Oh, that's that Lucifer stuff, man."
Yeah.
All I know is all I need to know, and then you're fucked. That's how I liked when he said that. And then his story about being in prison. Like he went to like walked along with that guy. It's just him and his cape.
What the fuck?
He's like circa 18, blah blah blah, or whatever. I was like, damn, I can like when he tells a story like that, he's not like an author in that way, but I mean it was. He put me in the situation. I'm like, damn, dude, that would suck.
Because he said he wore a cape, I was so happy. It's like, this fucking weirdo.
That's when he gets to talking about, how that guy had a double murder and shit. But otherwise, like, he'd have never known because he was a good guy.
He made the cops dig their own graves.
Their own fucking grave, dude.
Jesus.
But he was like, what makes a man do that?
It, why would you ever put any work into it?
One cop was like, I have kids. Don't do this. And it's like, get in the hole.
He talks about, like, how somebody's so normal on the surface and that can talk normal and was nice and was trying to give him a hand could be capable of that. And then he got to thinking about, that's when like those dreams started and shit. He was like, I could do that. Like I'm only a step away from being, a murderer or whatever. We're all a step from it. And I can see that though, man. I like the space he was in when he wrote that book and what he talks about, leading up to all of it.
Yeah.
That he was in a space of like thinking about death and destruction and why we, kill millions of Jews and, why we allowed it to happen, why, good people allowed that to happen and actually cheered it on and stuff. So like what makes us as evil as we truly are? Like, it makes you wonder.
Because when he talks about that stuff, it makes me think that it's weird that more people aren't in touch with that part of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, there are times when I'm just talking about like fucked up shit and like how I would torture somebody or like,
Yeah.
And they're like, man, what makes you think about that? Where does that come from? It's like, you just think about what you don't want done to you.
Right.
Hell
No
yeah.
shit.
But then it highlights that people don't always think about what they don't want done to them.
Yeah.
And they're just like, here's what I want done.
Here's what I want.
Stop being so positive, Nancy.
The good in life. When in reality, and that's what the same people are like, why me? Or, how could God let this happen to me? And like, you didn't prepare yourself. You got to think about it.
What
It's
did
not
you
all
do for
sunshine
God?
and
Why would he protect you?
I think my least favorite question on the planet is, why did this happen to me? Or why is this happening to blank? Like,
Yeah.
it sends me into a rage. I fucking hate it. I don't understand why you need to know the answer to that question. Why would you ask that question?
Yeah.
You're never gonna know. It doesn't fucking matter.
No matter
It's
how many
happening.
times you ask.
Yeah, just deal with it and shut the fuck up.
Exactly. Find a way to get
Consume
through
you.
Instead
it.
of why me, it should be how can I change this?
Yes.
That's you got to think too.
Oh my God, what are you?
What?
You're dressed
Oh
differently.
yeah, I took that hoodie off. Tricked you. Just like oh shit, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, there's billions of people here on the planet, and you think that you are
Right.
important enough for God to put His things down and be like, well, we're gonna make sure she has a good ride. Like,
Yeah.
Let's get this bitch an Audi.
let's get this.
Why are you fucking his box up?
Oh, I didn't think he was taking the rest of it home. I gotta have the fucking box.
It's
My bad. Let me reconstruct
I had the
this
same
box.
thought, but then I was like, I'll just allow it. I don't care.
It's awesome.
He's in the
I'm
moment.
nervous. No, that one always bugged me too. I just I don't get where people have the right to do that. And then a lot of it comes from Christianity too. Like,
Yes.
and then you always have the pastor that comes up and he's like, it's God's will and He has a plan. And like, no, He doesn't.
Right.
No, that wasn't in the plan. It wasn't in the book. Let's just like put that to rest.
I've read it. I don't see that shit in there anywhere.
There was this lady. She's all like, because she wrote a book on like teenagers that killed themselves and shit. And she's all in touch with the other side and all this jazz. But she has the idea that whenever you come to Earth, there are certain things that are going to happen regardless. And if they don't happen, that's when you spend like your afterlife working to make those things come to be.
That's an interesting
wicked.
idea.
Yeah.
I
So the
like
idea
that.
of a plan, it's like, hey, that one was in the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So there you go. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. No, I find it hard to believe that there would be like a legit plan, in place. Like, this is how it's going to happen.
But why?
But why?
Yeah.
I guess because if you believe that, then you do have to believe that there is a God writing that book. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it doesn't. I don't know how you look at it, but that doesn't necessarily imply that you don't have any say in it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you think of him as the father figure, then you're just kind of making a plan together. You're like, hey, I want to go play on this playground. It's like, okay, but you have to do these things. Oh, well, yeah, okay, good deal. And then everything else is your thing. It's like you make a plan to, like, have a house and a life and all that jazz, but you don't really count on your washer breaking down.
Yeah.
But it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
You're like, fuck yeah, I got
I
this
can see
badass
it.
kitchen stuff. But this clothing machine.
Like, although these things are going to happen to you, you can move forward through them. I mean,
Yeah.
aside from death, but if that's the case,
Yeah.
then you weren't meant to be, a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
That was your journey.
It's like a contract. You can end it before, but the terms and conditions are going to fuck you.
Yes.
It can be a little bit different when you get there.
It's the idea that there's a rough outline and everything else is kind of just as it comes. I've always been more partial to.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense. I can see, okay, well, you're going to go through this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And then, like you just said, like, okay, well, that's going to break down. Well, that's not written in there because it's not that important.
Yeah.
But
It's like
it will
you do
occur.
have some choices to make,
Yeah.
and then what happens, but
It's a matter of how you get to those
Yeah.
bullet points.
when you're 40, you're going to break your knee.
Yeah.
Lately, though, I have been excited to know, like, what's, like, on the other side. I feel like I won't be as scared or trembling when death gets here.
Yeah.
Like, because I really want to know.
Scary old death.
Yeah, I might not be able to tell anybody, but it's like, I don't know, it makes you wonder. So instead of looking at it as something that is going to be bad and hurtful and blah, 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 and I'm just going to miss everything, whatever, like, there's something after this that is way beyond our understanding, and I'm ready to see it. Like, not too soon, but when it comes, I'm not going to, like, fucking be mad at it.
Shy away from it.
Yeah. Because it's a different plane, man. I think this is just an experience, and then when you go to the net, I mean, it's just going to be insane. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
But what if it's a step back?
Fuck that. I'll kill myself in that life, too.
Two.
I'm kind of okay with that idea too. I mean, I feel like just whatever is whatever. I can't do anything about it anyway. Might as well just be whatever.
Or can you?
I don't think so.
Because, everybody has the idea, oh, I can't really do anything about it. What if you can?
Well,
So, maybe
guess
the idea of an afterlife is like, okay, well, whatever you thought was going to happen is what's going to happen. So if you think you have no say in it, you have no say in it.
yeah.
But
You
also,
created
I
this.
don't know, so that might be bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, well, we don't know any of it.
Yeah.
It could all be bullshit. It could just be here and then you're not. The end.
Yeah.
The
Which would be
end.
kind of
Sign it.
annoying, but
It would be annoying, but
like- if that were the case, I would want to have the opportunity to lash out one last time.
Yes. Give me 5 minutes, man. It's all I need.
I'm on my way out. Here's my manifesto. I'm taking 20 people.
I always worry about. So, when I have dreams, like in them, I know that it's happening, but as soon as I wake up, I have no recollection of it. Almost ever.
Yeah.
I always fear that there is an afterlife, but because of how I dream, I won't be able to really experience it. It's going to be the same, where it feels like I'm in it, but, I just have no idea that it's happening.
I don't know. The cool thing is when you go to sleep, like you don't. I mean, for people who sleep all the way through the night, or even if you wake up, twice, whatever. But that time in between, like I've always thought about that time in between. Now, if you dream and stuff like that, it makes no difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
The time in between, it baffles me because we go to sleep. We know we're gonna go to sleep, and we're laying down, we're resting, whatever, and we know before we wake up that we're gonna wake up. Well, we think we know that, right?
Likely.
9 times out of
likely.
10.
You're gonna probably wake up.
That
And,
one motherfucker.
It's so interesting that space of time and how it happens and occurs. Like, and then when you wake up and you're right back to the same consciousness you were when you went to sleep,
Back to
back
the
to the same things,
grind.
right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting that space of time that is spent, at rest.
Yeah.
That you don't know, but
it.
you know you wake up.
Yeah. But I don't even wake up in the same mindset.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, all right, now here's a new day. Maybe you're going to be the same, maybe you're not. But I had
That's
a dream,
crazy.
I guess, last night. I was having like a pool get-together. I wouldn't call it a pool party, but it was a
A
get-together.
gathering.
But I wanted some wings. So I went to the only place that was open, but it was like a kind of like a seafood type place.
Oh,
And
no.
all their wings were like Alaskan wings, or like
Alaskan.
It's awesome.
salmon, whatever type, So, but on my way in, there was this guy. There was like a swimming team. It was there instead of like a ski team. It was swimming, and one guy was playing darts, and I was like, oh, we could pass you, And then I went to go into the place, and we had to cross paths again, and I just went, and he complained, and I was like, oh, you'll be fine. It's like, you're a shit, but you're right.
Yes.
So
And then,
you're,
yeah.
you're the same asshole in your dreams that you are in
Absolutely.
real life.
Consistent.
Consistently.
So true to yourself, no matter where you are.
Hell
I
yeah.
like that.
It does baffle me though. But like when I'm dreaming, I know that like I'm me. Like I still act as myself in my dream. Like that's how I would be if I was awake and going through this situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. That like I mean that's probably how you would treat that situation anyways. No
Yeah.
matter how big the guy was.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's either gonna wreck me or he's not.
Yeah. This is gonna happen or not. We're good.
Regularly, I'm disappointed that I don't remember my dreams. I'll have one every once in a while. Like there was that one, we were at some bar. I made notes of it because I don't even remember it at this point. But we were all sleeping, like through the house, I guess, like on the floor or whatever. The house/bar. It was both.
House bar.
House bar. Yeah. Just depend on what part of the dream I was in.
Yeah.
But last night, I remember one thing. We were talking about Chainsaw, like she was a band, and said that we hadn't listened to Chainsaw since December 7th. And that was the end. I don't even know. She didn't die on December 7th,
Yeah.
but that was the sentence. And then I woke up, and it's in my brain. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that there, but nothing else is?
Was
Maybe
that
that
the day
was
that
on-
you decided it was time to put her down?
No, she was put down the 21st, I think, or 23rd. and I think we decided the 20th. I mean, it was right before. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
weird.
And I don't have a fucking clue.
Yeah, it makes no fucking sense.
The dream thing, that's what bothers me too, is the fact that we've done all this research on a lot of other things, but we don't really study sleep as much as I think that we should have. You know, people have, you know, had theories about dreams and what they mean and all that shit, but like a true study about it and like what is, you know, what is it? Like, what is that space? Why do we come back to this consciousness? How can we continue?
And why do we
to
go crazy if we don't dream?
Yeah.
What's that about?
I don't think that they've done enough research on that whole experience.
How the fuck are we going to do any?
Well,
I don't know.
For the longest time, I mean,
I agree, though.
they didn't care about the mind. Mental health was not. If you had mental health issues,
That's
it was
baffling, yeah.
Yeah, it
You
was
pick
just
that
like,
cabbage or nah?
it just didn't matter, and then it slowly is mattering more and more, and people realize how important the mind is, and they're.
That's so stupid that it.
Isn't
like,
it?
how are we?
But they just
how?
didn't know. They
Yeah.
just didn't know that
Yeah, you
this
didn't
is
really
what
need
does
to know.
everything. Yeah.
This is what like creates the reality. That's how like
Yeah.
this table's a real thing. Only because my mind tells my sensory whatever.
Whatever things.
Yeah. Tell me that this is a table, but it's all up here. Like that's how I know any of this is real and that it's like a physical thing. Because I've made it my
Yeah,
subjective
but imagine
reality.
you didn't have the science to tell you that your brain is what does everything. What the hell would you think it was?
I don't know. I guess that's
Most
where they
people
go.
wouldn't think about it.
Like
Yeah,
the
it's like-
supernatural route and like Christianity and stuff comes into play where they're like, well, it's God and it's these, you know, spiritual interactions with whatever. Like that's where that comes into play because it's how they explained it before. Like the mind,
Yeah.
it was mystical.
Well, I figured too, it was probably a lot of people having like interesting interactions and experiences that they couldn't explain. So, you know, as a collective, it's just, oh, well, this is God or whatever they wanted to call it at the time. And, you know, we've slowly just figured out what things are, or what we believe them to be at least.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What they are to the best of our knowledge right now.
Yeah. But, yeah.
I've been listening to Norm Macdonald on no, motherfucker, we're going to talk about Norm Macdonald.
I can't wait.
Doing that podcast and stuff, you know? And he asked one question. It was like, if you could you go on an island with like this hot chick, or in your case, a hot dude.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
And for 30 days, and you could do anything you want, whatever, everything's free. Like, the limit is your imagination. But at the end of it, you won't remember it. You know, zero recollection, no pictures, nothing.
What's the fucking point?
Would you still go?
Sure, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I
live
wouldn't
in the
do
moment.
I wouldn't do a motherfucking thing. I would lay on the beach. I would apply sunblock, and that's it. I'd swim in the ocean. End of story.
All right. I assume you'd go.
I'd go and for like living in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you wouldn't have to.
Because then he was talking about the idea of like, do you do things for the experience or do you do things like for the memories later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live in the moment or fuck off. Then he had another thing where he was talking about people are all like, I don't know why God would let evil things happen or like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, well, if God is good, then anything good that he did would just be an extension of himself.
Yeah.
So the only thing that he can really create that isn't an extension of himself is evil. So all this evil shit then creates other good things that are separate from the initial God.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah, I like
the
that.
daylight comes after the storm. Like most times after a terrible storm, it's the prettiest day that they've ever seen, you know, and it's kind of like that, I guess. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you have to have that because it breeds the best of the good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think we all snap into action and take care of people that are in need and in suffering. And we create these things to help those people. Those things never would have been created without.
Yeah.
Like, so I can see
And
that.
if things are too good, then people just don't care.
You know what? Yeah.
It's like a common complaint that I hear about friends. It's like people don't care about their problems because their lives are so good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at these privileged fucking white people complaining about shit.
Yes.
Yeah. But if the struggle was real,
Right.
yeah,
It's ridiculous. I'd like to add one more thing I'd like to do while I was on that beach. I figure after like 30 days, I might get bored with laying around.
Yeah.
So I'd like to explore as far down into the ocean as I could possibly go. I would do that. For
Excellent.
how, once I got tired of laying on the beach,
yeah.
I would just swim down as far as I could.
You'd be the one person, you wouldn't remember it, but you would go so far down that you would end up like hitting magma.
Yeah.
And then you would like cause the world's worst known volcano, and the world would just live with what you did.
We don't know where it came from.
God.
That's
Sarah, what did
awesome.
you do for the last month? I don't know.
I have no recollection.
There was a meme of this old lady in the middle of a crowd at a concert, right? And everybody around her had their phone in front of their face, filming what was going on.
Yeah.
And it said the only person living in the moment, because the old lady, was over the rail with her hand, and just like intensely looking, watching and being in that moment and enjoying herself, rather than putting the phone in front of her face and then like, oh, I'm gonna record this for later. When in reality, half of us don't watch the shit anyways, and it just sits on our phone. And then we're like, but a lot of us now do it for not our experience, but other people viewing our experience as cool or notable or whatever. Yeah. So, and that's, we're growing vastly into that direction where we don't enjoy here the things that we do and buy for ourselves and go to. We're only doing because we think that other people will think that they're cool. So if I post it and stuff like that, people are gonna like it and it's gonna be real cool and I'm gonna be known for it and whatever. Like, most people don't do things for the experience or for that moment. They don't do it.
People who record shit on their phone with their phone directly in front of their face are fucking retarded. Who does that? I know
down.
people do it.
In general, I agree with
like
you.
This.
But
And watch.
I have two exceptions.
Okay.
One is the time I went to see Jimmy Eat World at Headliners, and they played Goodbye Sky Harbor in its entirety.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I go back and watch that, and I'm like, man, I'm really glad I recorded that.
Yeah.
And then whenever I saw Sigur Rós at Madison Square Garden,
Yeah, but
sometimes
did
it
you
comes
record
up.
it like this?
Well, I have it horizontally because I'm not an
I'm
asshole.
not an
but
asshole, yeah.
I record all kinds of shit, but I watch while I'm recording because
Well,
I don't need the phone here to.
Well, I want to have, like, I don't want to go back and
You
look
wanna
at
have
it to
it,
where
like,
it's like
perfect.
off to the side where I'm like, man,
Yeah.
that shit doesn't
frame
even
that
bother
shit,
me.
you dumb bitch.
You
You know, so
That
But
cinematic aspect.
I will still
Yeah.
look around it, to
Yeah.
kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
I need because there is a difference between like seeing it really and then seeing the recording of what you're
Fuck
doing.
yes.
Yeah. So I do have to combine the two, but I do try to keep it framed.
Hell yeah. I record all kinds of shit. I actually watch my stuff though, so I don't know. I guess which I have 12,000 videos. I can't say I watch every single one or videos and photos. I don't watch them all every single day or anything, but
No.
I enjoy them on a regular basis.
Yeah. So I have an assload of pictures on my hard drive. Most of the time I never see them, but then
Never know, you might use them one day, or it's a history
Yeah, it's
of
just
what
nice,
your
like,
life has been.
oh yeah, I
so.
forgot about that. That way your life wasn't just a blank nothing.
Yeah, man. That way
Yeah.
you can at least go back. I think that in general is why the camera was made in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Was to go back when you're 70, even when you can't remember anything, you can look back and know that was you.
It's actually
And-
not why.
No.
That's not why.
But it takes you to that moment when, you're old and you can't do anything and stuff like that. You can relive in that moment, especially now that we have video and stuff. It's all on the cloud. You can go back and actually relive it instead of just look at the picture and the memory of it. Now you have an actual account of
Right.
how it went down, So that's pretty cool.
There were ancient German cults that whenever they created the camera,
You're
it was
lying.
because but it was because they would capture a part of your soul, and then they would use those soul parts for their evil rituals.
Soul parts. I'm missing soul parts. I ran out yesterday.
You're
That's,
making this up.
I had
You
I
don't
don't-
know.
Amish teacher one time that kicked me out of her class because I took a picture of her because they believe that it captures a piece of their soul when you take a picture of them.
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And now
She
you
was
realize it's not.
No, she was legit about it. She did not want you to take a picture of it.
And then it puts it into an alternate universe, and then
Yeah, it's super
there we are.
weird.
Aliens are out there spanking it to the picture.
God.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alien spank.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm done now.
Yeah.
Cool, man. That was another episode of the Wildly Uninteresting podcast.
Indubitably.
Adam Ashby, Ian Brock,
I don't have
and
one in me.
Sarah Ashby. We
Yeah.
appreciate you listening. Like, comment, share. Hit the notification button so that you're always updated. We put a episode out every week. Thank you
Every goddamn week.
All
Yeah.
of them, all the weeks.
for all the weeks of the year.
We'll be
If
here.
there's something you want to talk about or whatever, man, put it in the comments. We'll
We're
talk
more
about
reliable than your
Yeah.
parents.
That's right.
it. Thank you for listening, man. If you made it this far, now go fuck off.
Skitty.
Fuck
Whoa. Wildly Uninteresting podcast.
Scrobbles.